What's up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of GO.A.T Talk with Marcus, powered by PodDecks, fueled by GOAT Fuel. Once again, joining me on the show, JT and the Don. What's up, fellas? How we doing tonight?
Doing well. It's Friday night, hanging out with you. If only JT wasn't here, it'd be a great Friday night.
Oh, you can log me out. Like, I don't got to be here. Like,
you made a commitment.
Stay on. You got like a leave the studio thing. And you can X me out, and then you can just listen to this crap, whatever you're going to say that's going to be wrong.
We do this for Marcus.
You're going to bring down the ratings of your show by saying all kind of crazy shit.
We do this for Marcus.
The choice is yours. Like, I don't have to work with you, man. Like, I have a good time with Marcus. Like, you don't have to be here. I don't have to be here. One of us can go.
All right.
Unfortunately, the fourth member of the show tonight is running late conveniently. One Blaine Spencer of the Fundamentals Sports Pod will be wearing a Dak Prescott jersey whenever he decides to show up tonight because he backed the wrong horse, unfortunately. Which, as a Commanders fan, it's something he's all too used to. So whenever Blaine joins the show, I'll make fun of him for wearing a Dak Prescott jersey. And because of that, we're actually going to move around the things we're going to talk about. We're going to start with a recap of the divisional round. Don, will start with you. The Buffalo Bills, before the season, were kind of supposed to be like the team that won it all. Look at that. Put it on, Blaine.
I figured I would have to get on the show first before I did my punishment.
Yeah. Put it on.
Hold on.
This is great. I just want to.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have to throw a caveat in here. I am a man of my word. Dad, please don't disown me.
I just want to say sometimes, I enjoy giving Blaine a hard time, but I've been waiting. I've been super excited to watch Blaine.
He got the nice one.
Yeah, he got a nice jersey too. Yeah. Oh yeah.
He got the ultimate throwback.
He's insisting on
a rough day and a real emotional moment for me. I just gotta say that
this is like sports OnlyFans content, man. What's going on there?
Despise the Cowboys with my entire soul. This is, oh my God, this jersey doesn't even fit. You have to take. This is rough.
This is great. No. We're actually not doing we're not starting.
I love national television. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, we're not starting the show until you sit back down.
I can't hear a word you're saying because I took my headphones off. So, and here we are. Good Lord.
He looked like Skip Bayless.
I am a man of my word.
Looks good on you, bro.
Every part of my body is cringing at the moment. Oh shit! This is just rough right now. I am not having fun anymore.
Looks good on you. Don't worry.
Don't.
No, don't. You're a natural Cowboys fan, man. You fit the bill here.
Whoa, thanks.
Yeah. So actually, since you're here, Blaine Spencer, we'll start with you. Actually, since you're wearing the Dak Prescott jersey, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys went into San Francisco and unfortunately lost to the 49ers for the second consecutive season in the playoffs. Blaine, can your favorite quarterback, Dak Prescott, win it all as the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys?
The answer would be, I would have to say, no, because the Cowboys can't even get themselves to a championship game. What do you mean they can get themselves to a Super Bowl? So if they can't even get themselves into the championship game, I don't believe that they deserve to be in the Super Bowl. And Joe Chichilitti, shout out for watching. Thanks for not coming on the show, a-hole. But that's my co-host, and now he just sent me a meme, and he's loving every second of it right now. So, but no, Dak Prescott cannot win a Super Bowl because I don't believe the Dallas Cowboys can win a Super Bowl. Can they win with? They can't win because of him. He honestly was so bad this past weekend. The one thing that stuck out with me, and I said this on the final whistle the other night, is that Jerry Jones was sick, not because the Cowboys lost. He's sick because he knows they should have won. Like, the defense played that well and lights out for them to be in the position to win the game, and his quarterback let him down. Yes, Tony Pollard got hurt in that second half. Kellen Moore deserves some of the blame. He made no adjustments in that second half. And then arguably, he made the what was that end of this clock management at the end of the game? It was repetitive all over again, right? If you really break it down, Schultz couldn't get out of bounds. He doesn't understand the rules of making sure that he's going forward so the clock continues to run. Then very next play, nonchalantly only gets 1 foot in bounds. It was just absolutely mind-boggling to me how the Dallas Cowboys got in their own way again. I loved every second of it. I am still honestly hurting right now as I'm keep staring at myself in the corner of my peripheral as I'm talking. But no, Dak Prescott is not going to be the reason, and the Dallas Cowboys are not going to win a championship with him.
Yeah, well, all that means nothing when you're wearing the man's jersey. Don, can the Dallas Cowboys win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott under center?
You know, I've always been a Dak fan, even though I'm not a Cowboys fan. And after this past loss, you know, you do start to doubt whether he can win it all with Dallas. But for the purposes of the show, you know, I'll answer it. And I think Blaine was alluding to something there where, so to answer it, I think they can win it all with Dak. But what Blaine is saying is that, you know, it's more about the team, right? He doesn't believe the Cowboys can get there. It's because they don't have the weapons for him. Listen, just like any quarterback, whether it's Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, it's about the solid, well-rounded team around the guy. And he doesn't have it. Offensive weapons. CeeDee Lamb, some don't even think he's a true number one. And then who else? You know, Tony Pollard, well, he got hurt in the second quarter. Like, he just didn't have any weapons. And mind you, he was going against the San Francisco 49ers defense. This wasn't, you know, the Minnesota Vikings defense. This was the San Francisco 49ers defense, which a lot of people think is a Super Bowl caliber defense. So no weapons going against a great defense. And then on top of that, so first you got to get them offensive weapons. Then two, I'm not sold on McCarthy. Blaine just said it. Why are you blaming the clock management on Dak when Schultz made 2 errors and Mike McCarthy should have called a timeout at 2:50 instead of letting it run down to the 2-minute warning? I'm not saying he would have saved 50 seconds, but they would have had more than 30 seconds at the end. So I'm not sold on McCarthy. I think, you know, they've gone through the calm, analytical type coaches, Garrett, you know, Chan Gailey, now McCarthy. They got to go back and get that fiery coach like a Jimmy Johnson. I'm not saying they're going to be as successful as Jimmy Johnson, but they need some fire to this team, man. They're just too nonchalant. And I think it showed the last 2 playoff games against the Niners. You need that fiery guy in there to say, we going in, we winning. We're taking no prisoners. Like, we're going all in.
Don, I just want to ask you the question now. The problem is that Jerry Jones will not yield an alpha dog to go against him, though, I feel like. And that's the one issue with being able to find a fiery guy like Jimmy Johnson. But he has gone away from that direction.
I understand
in this generation.
But Blaine, are there not young guys that are fiery that would love an opportunity? Like Sirianni was available. You don't think Sirianni would have left the Colts to go there? He's a fiery guy. He was swearing on national television at a ref. I don't know what else is fiery.
Go ahead, JT. I know it's in your DNA to disagree with Don, so go ahead.
See that? See, the first problem with you young kids is you think you know it all, because I'm actually going to agree with him. Because like Blaine basically answered the question for us. Like that great soliloquy you gave, all those excuses, that sounds like nothing that Dak Prescott is responsible for. It's everything around him. And for the purpose of the question, can they win it with Dak? Yes, if they don't mess it up. Like I agree with Don. McCarthy is the problem. Why are we acting like this isn't the same guy that made Aaron Rodgers look like he was washed? Like, that's why he's not in Green Bay anymore. McCarthy is not a good coach. The game has passed him by. You can go watch Hard Knocks and see that he's not motivating anybody to do anything. That team is old. The offensive line isn't what it once was. They refuse to turn Tony Pollard into a bell cow. Instead, they're giving Zeke in his 2-point yards per carry all the touches. CeeDee Lamb, Don and I agree on that. Not a number one. I think he's barely a number 3 on an explosive offense. Like, There are no weapons on this team, and then you just expect them to go beat the best defense in the league. Like, I don't understand why you're surprised. It has nothing to do with Dak Prescott. And if you want to even just take it to simpler terms, just look at the two quarterbacks in that game. Complete opposite situations, and look at that worked out for Brock Purdy. That is probably one of the most loaded offenses in the league, and he had to do absolutely nothing but just dump it off to somebody and let them break it for 60 yards. This has nothing to do with Dak Prescott. I hate the hate for him because it's like you forget this dude puts up elite stats without any help, but all of a sudden it's just all his fault. And if it were some other quarterback who we love, we're not going to blame them. We're going to blame the team. So I'm just going to put Dak Prescott in that same category. Get him weapons, get him help. Until then, let's shut up about him not being able to do anything. Like, it's not him. It's the way the Cowboys are built.
JT, those two IITs, though, you have to put it on him. Like that, both of those were on him. He could have easily thrown 5 in that game.
Who was he throwing to? Like
it doesn't matter. But he was so late on the first one.
I want us to come back and break down every quarterback that makes a mistake in the playoffs, because we'll be here all day.
I am for that, because Josh Allen right now is not on my good list after how he played. I didn't think
I just want to know, is Josh Allen on people's shit list, or are they still thinking he's God? Is Justin Herbert on people's shit list, or do we still think he's God? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like you guys were saying Trevor Lawrence's full birth name just 2 weeks ago. Like, it's crickets now, but it's like Dak has one bad game, and they're probably the least talented team other than the Giants in the playoffs. And it's like, well, see, he sucks because he couldn't carry this trash team to a Super Bowl. Like, this ain't Tom Brady playing with the Patriots in a terrible AFC East. Like, this is a bad team. And the defense showed up kind of, but like their stars really didn't show up. Where was Michael Parsons? He's supposed to be a game wrecker. Like, it can't all be on Dak. He got a big contract. So what? Every quarterback is. Daniel Jones about to get $30 million per year. Like, the contract doesn't mean that you're responsible for everything, but damn, like, take the situation into consideration.
Was Micah throwing a jab at him the other night? I feel like he was.
Probably, and he gonna find out what life is like without a good quarterback like Dak Prescott if he keep talking.
And Blaine, you're right. The interceptions, those are bad interceptions for a non-rookie quarterback, and I get that. But at the same time, guys have made mistakes before and they're able to battle back. And it's like when they have the pieces, like I think Dak a lot of times feel like he needs to force it, which he's got to learn not to. And I think that's kind of what happened in this game. Like, think about it. Like, it was a low scoring affair. Every possession mattered. And he knew it. And he was trying to do too much. Pollard gets hurt. Now he loses that security blanket out of the backfield. Like, he was in a tough spot. The interceptions are inexcusable, and I'm not making an excuse, but I think that's just the way he was playing. And he owns up to it. That's the thing. He has great character. Like, he owns up to that. He can shoulder this pressure being the Cowboys quarterback. Not everybody could.
And to make matters worse, I mean, yeah, you're right. He probably did feel he had to press because he didn't have any weapons. And then also he didn't have a kicker. Like, that's got to be sitting in the back of your mind. Like, I'm the only way we can score to win this game. Like, that's a lot of pressure, man.
I've done more defending of the Dallas Cowboys in the last calendar year than I have probably ever in my life. And I'm gonna do it again.
Look, I'm wearing that defense right now.
That's your fault, Blaine.
That's your fault because you can't.
I'm still gonna take Tom Brady every time.
Let's see how that worked out.
He was done.
So
now he's done. Yeah, he's officially retired in my book. So
I have ultimate confidence that the Dallas Cowboys can win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott under center. Right? Dak has been playing football at this level for 7 years. Right? At this point, we know what Dak is and we know what Dak isn't. Right? This is an offense that 2 of the last 3 years, when Dak was completely healthy, was one of the highest scoring offenses in football. This season, that was not the case. This is a defense that's gotten consistently better over the past couple of years because of Dan Quinn, and it's one of the reasons why Dan Quinn decided to stay instead of taking the job in Arizona or in Indianapolis or in Carolina or wherever else he interviewed over the last week or so. Like, Dak Prescott is a talented quarterback that can lead this team to a Super Bowl. The problem isn't Dak. The problem is Mike McCarthy, but more specifically, the problem is Kellen Moore, because Kellen Moore, for some reason, chooses not to evolve, chooses not to make adjustments, chooses to do things too crazy because of who he has under center. In that 5-game stretch when Dak Prescott was out, and Cooper Rush was the quarterback. You didn't see Kellen Moore trying to do all this crazy, fancy, double naked, triple reverse bootlegs and all this other nonsense he does when Dak Prescott's the quarterback. The offense wasn't predictable. The offense was unpredictable. The offense had layers to it, on layers on layers. There was an active attempt to involve the run game. There was an active attempt to involve the play action. There was an active attempt to involve all your receivers not named CeeDee Lamb. That has never been the case when Dak is under center. And so, in my opinion, Kellen Moore needs to go, and Kellen Moore needs to go yesterday. And I think we're on that road. Like, I know Mike McCarthy had his end of season press conference the other day, and he kind of alluded to the fact someone asked him a couple times if Kellen Moore was coming back as the OC, and he just quite frankly said that Kellen Moore is under evaluation, just like all the other coaches and position coaches are on the roster, which lets me think that maybe Kellen Moore's days in Dallas are numbered.
How dare Mike McCarthy say anything about anybody is being considered? Like, bro, like, you shouldn't be coming back. Like, Kellen Moore, if anything, he the reason people think you good. He need to donate a third of his salary to Moore and Dan Quinn, because they're making people defend Mike McCarthy in these conversations. Like, this is unreal.
Mike McCarthy deserves to go. Kellen Moore also deserves to go. And I think the only thing that Mike McCarthy can do to save his job at least one more year is to get rid of Kellen Moore and bring in another offensive coordinator just and run it back. I don't think you should. I think they should both be gone. I think they should bring in a new OC. I think they should bring in a new DC. But and we breeze past it, but I'm not going to breeze past it. I'm gonna beat down on it because I think it's something worth noting. Josh Allen led the league in turnovers this season. He had 30 turnovers combined between interceptions and fumbles. He turned the ball over more than anyone else in the red zone this season. Not many people uttered a word about Josh Allen's inability to lead the Bills to the Super Bowl. Not many people uttered a word about Josh Allen not being a top 3 or top 5 or a top 10 quarterback because it's Josh Allen, because he was crowned as being the new guy. He was supposed to be the number 1 quarterback in football, and he wasn't that this season. He was supposed to win MVP this season, and he didn't even finish top 5 in the voting. Like he was not.
Oh, he is in the top 5.
Was he?
That's a scam.
He shouldn't have been. He shouldn't have been.
It was announced that he was in the final 5.
We just gonna forget Buffalo was 13-3 though.
Yeah, but Josh Allen did not play good football this year. I don't care.
Yeah, but Dak also played in the best division in football. Like, are we just gonna forget about that?
I don't care how many wins you have. If you don't play like how you're supposed to play, you don't deserve to be top 5 in the NBA.
What do the stats show?
The stats show that
they at home.
and you want to talk about being 12 wins. I've defended Dak, but what was Cooper's record? I'm just saying.
It was 4-1.
We're really gonna do this
Dak,
right now?
No,
this is the problem.
This is
the problem. So let me ask you a question. Hold on, time out. If Cooper runs, let's say if Josh Allen got hurt.
We'll get to the Bills.
Hold on, time out. If Josh Allen would have got hurt and Cooper Rush would have came into one of those games, are we gonna be like, yeah, we don't need Josh Allen, let's just go forward with Cooper Rush? This is the shit that I'm talking about.
No,
this is crazy.
I'll defend it later. Go ahead. Go ahead, Marcus. I'll defend it. I'll defend it later because JT's inconsistent. I'll at least be consistent. JT's inconsistent.
You consistently wrong. That's the problem.
I'm consistent.
I knew that I
defend guys. You are inconsistent because it's just who you like.
Nah, I want everybody to get the same smoke. If Josh Allen is a top 5 MVP getter, then Dak Prescott right up there with him. He got one less win.
But the difference is you'll give Allen the smoke, but not Dak.
Oh, I will.
So you're doing exactly what you say the critics do, and you're being a hypocrite.
I will give Dak the smoke. His interceptions were shit, but all
Blaine,
situations are not created equal.
Blaine,
Dak Prescott wouldn't have almost lost to the Dolphins at home.
Blaine, did he give him smoke? Did he give Dak smoke?
That's not the question. The question was, can he win a Super Bowl with him?
You just said, I'll give Dak smoke. Did you give it to him? Not tonight.
Don, so I want to ask you a question. Don, do you think Dak Prescott's a top 10 quarterback in football?
I'd put him, I would look at the list, but I have no issue putting him in the top 10.
Where comfortably, what bubble, like what range of quarterback would you rank Dak as far as like upper limit, lower limit for Dak Prescott?
Probably like 7 to 10.
So okay. Is Josh Allen a top 3 quarterback in football?
I would still say this year.
He's closer to 6.
We're looking at this year. He's top 5. He's top 5.
Okay, so even if top 5. So I agree with you to a degree about your point about the comparison.
Why though? Why? And go look at their stats. Go look at their stats the past couple of years. Like why is Dak closer to 7 to 10, but Josh Allen is automatically top 3?
So here's the thing.
I didn't say automatic top 3.
In order for this is so Josh Allen for the last couple of years has hovered between 5 to 3, and at one point he was as high as 2, and depending on who you ask, he's the best quarterback in football, right? We've never looked at Dak Prescott as being a top 5 quarterback for the most part. No one's ever looked at Dak Prescott as being the best quarterback in football. No one's looked at Dak Prescott as being a top 3 quarterback in football. And so when you look at a guy in Josh Allen who's supposed to be a top 3 quarterback in football at the worst top 5, and he's leading the league in turnovers, and he's leading the league in red zone interceptions, red zone turnovers specifically, and he's not playing up to the standard that he's being held that you would expect a top 3, top 5 guy to uphold, he's gonna get bashed. Most people don't even think Dak Prescott's a top 10 quarterback in football. And so if most people don't think Dak's top 10, then most people aren't surprised that Dak Prescott leads the league in interceptions, or isn't surprised when Dak Prescott goes on the road in a playoff game and throws 2 interceptions, or isn't surprised when Dak Prescott fails in certain situations, whereas you can look at it and say Cooper Rush over the 5-game stretch that he started in those games when Dak was out did not fail. My preference is this. If I'm looking at a guy in Josh Allen who's supposed to be top 3, he should be playing like a top 3 quarterback all the time, like regardless. And top 3 quarterbacks win you close games against good football teams. We've never once looked at Pat Mahomes and said if the Chiefs lost, it's because of Pat Mahomes. We've never once looked at Joe Burrow over the course of his very short career to this point, and if the Bengals lost, it was because of Joe Burrow. If you want to say that Justin Herbert's top 5, maybe he is, maybe he's not. If Lamar Jackson's top 5, maybe he is, maybe he's not. Very few times do you look at top 5 quarterbacks, guys that are supposed to be in the top 5, and you say, or ever do you say, his team lost, and it was because of him. You can point to numerous occasions over the course of just this last season where you look at the game and you say, the Bills lost this game because Josh Allen didn't do what Josh Allen was
lost 3 games. You're going to blame all 3 on Josh Allen? Are you crazy? Did you watch the Minnesota game?
All 3 of those games.
He was the reason they lost.
All 3 of those games.
He threw multiple interceptions and fumbled in the end zone on a QB sneak.
And the defense couldn't stop it.
He failed. Josh Allen failed in those moments, even though it was just 3 wins. Good football teams don't lose games. They don't.
Really? They don't lose games. Good
My man Marcus
teams
said he failed.
Don't lose
games.
Hey, Blaine, let's blame Jalen Hurts for the one loss they had this year. How dare you, Jalen Hurts, lose a game? Unbelievable.
What I'm saying is let's be honest, Don. If Dak Prescott was the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills and he performed as poorly as Josh Allen performed in the fourth quarters of those 3 losses, Dak Prescott's head would be on the stake, much like it has been over the last couple of days as a result of the loss of the 49ers. That's a fact. Josh Allen's head this season has not been on the stake at all, despite the fact that ever since their game against the Chiefs when they went into Arrowhead and won in Week 6, Josh Allen statistically was one of the worst quarterbacks in football, passer ratings concerned, completion percentage in the fourth quarter, turning the ball over. He was not a good quarterback over the course of the season. And in the 3 losses, you can look directly at moments where Josh Allen fumbled, turned the ball over, or made a boneheaded decision, and it ultimately led to them losing that game. I don't think Josh Allen is bad. I'm not going to debate that Josh Allen's not top 5 or top 3 because I think he is. I think he still owns that status. But what I'm saying is if you're supposed to be a top 5, top 3 quarterback in football, the standard that you are held to is a much higher standard than that of a guy in Dak Prescott. No one ever think Dak Prescott's going to win an MVP, but multiple people think that Josh Allen is and should be in the discussion for the MVP almost year in, year out because of the talent and because of what he brings to the table. This season, he didn't meet those expectations, and he deserves to be treated, or he deserves to be held to the standard that his talent and that the team around him suggests that he should be held to. The Bills should be Super Bowl contenders. And 4 times this season, Josh Allen did not rise to the occasion, and in all 4 of those times, they lost. The Bills are at home because Josh Allen did not rise to the occasion last week at home against the Cincinnati Bengals.
I disagree with that, but I don't understand why you're coming at me when did I not defend Dak? I'm pretty sure I defended Dak. But since you're going to accuse me of all that, I got to defend myself then. So, one,
I need popcorn for this.
Dak, all right, was in a much closer game than the Buffalo game. Dak was not going against Joe Burrow. So, all right, let me start siding with the critics of Dak then, because 19-12, you make one play You're one touchdown away. If you're that great, if you want to be in the top 5, you figure out a way to make a play to tie the game at 19. All right. Then you look at Josh Allen. And I know we have the question coming up, but I'm going to put it all out there now. So you don't even need to ask me the question that you're going to ask me about the Bills. All right. They didn't deserve, not that they didn't deserve, they were never in that game. Cincy is clearly the better team because their personnel is better. You look at that D-line of Cincy manhandled the O-line of Buffalo. Again, and I told this to JT 2 nights ago, you flip QBs. You put Josh Allen on Cincy and Joe Burrow on Buffalo, Cincy still wins that game. So how can you possibly put it on Josh Allen when the difference is you put Joe Burrow on the Cowboys that day? I would say people would take their chances that Dallas wins that game if the defense played the way they did. All right. And then the other thing is why the Bills didn't win. Look at all of the injuries, man. The D-line, Ed Oliver, Rousseau, Jordan Phillips, at some point in the year, they were hurt. But you want to put all 3 losses on Josh Allen. Then you look at the secondary, which was even more banged up. Tre'Davious White was out like 10 games. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, I think he even got hurt during the game. Then you have DeMar Hamlin, having his situation. That secondary was shredded. How did you ever expect that they were going to stop Cincinnati's offense when that's all Josh Allen got, Stephon Diggs, and Burrow has? Higgins, possibly a number 1 receiver. Jamar Chase, possibly a number 1 receiver. Tyler Boyd, maybe one of the better number 3 receivers.
Possibly a number 1 receiver.
Or I'm sorry, a number 1 receiver.
Okay,
sorry.
I was making sure.
Number 1 receiver.
Making us look
and
bad.
then Tyler Boyd, one of the better number 3 receivers, mixing out of the backfield. Their defense on Cincy clearly better than Buffalo's defense that day, especially in the snow. So I'm not saying I'm not like everybody else that you're trying to lump me in, but if you are, I'm going to defend myself then because I'm defending Dak consistently and I'm defending Josh Allen consistently. If you want to pick and choose who you like, that's fine. But I'm looking at it from an objective standard that I'm defending Dak because he doesn't have the weapons, doesn't have quite the coaching everyone else does. But Josh Allen's in that same boat then. So I'm going to defend Josh Allen. Besides Diggs, name me a guy you would want on your Green Bay Packers.
Gabe Davis could be a number 1 receiver.
That's baloney. We talked about this last.
He could. He could. He could.
I don't.
Bro, they had to sign Beasley and John Brown. That answers your question.
I don't disagree with you that both that Dak Prescott and Josh Allen deserve to be defended at times. I'm not disagreeing with you there, and I'm not lumping you into the what I'm saying is, if you look at Josh Allen and his stature and how we overall discuss when we bring up Josh Allen's name, we are always talking about how Josh Allen is in that tier of quarterback put with the upper echelon of quarterback in the NFL today. We've never put Dak in the upper echelon of talent at the quarterback position. He's very talented, but he's never been ranked higher than 7.
Because Josh Allen's, let's say, more talented.
Yes, but Josh Allen is also the better quarterback than Dak Prescott. And so what I'm saying is, if you're the better quarterback, your stats should not be comparable to a guy who was a tier or 2 below you. And if the guy that is a tier or 2 below you is getting shredded for turning the ball over and poor decision making and costing teams the games, and they're in comparable situations, because I agree with you, there is a lack of talent on both sides. There could be much better talent in Dallas. There could be much better talent offensively in Buffalo. There's some there, but it could be much better. And so if you're going to shred Dak Prescott for, not saying that you do it, but just generically speaking, if we're going to shred Dak Prescott for turning the ball over and costing his team's games, then Josh Allen should be held to that exact same standard, and he should be getting shredded even just as much, if not even more, because he's held to a higher standard, because people look at him universally and say, this is a guy that is clearly one of the best in the league. This is a guy that at his best can be one of the best in the league, but we're still not that sure. And if that's the case, then this guy that's on tier 1 should not have stats that are comparable to this guy that's on tier 3 or mid tier 2. That shouldn't be the case. And if that is the case, then instead of questioning the guy down here, we should be paying more attention to the guy that's up here and trying to figure out why is it that his stats and his issues the same issue that this guy has. Josh Allen threw 14 picks this year.
But what stats are you referring to are comparable to Dak? Dak missed 4 or 5 games.
Okay, and all you heard.
Josh Allen's number 2 in passing touchdowns this year. Like, dude, what are we talking about?
I'm talking specifically about turnovers. All you hear
that's one stat. Brett Favre threw interceptions every game. People put him in the Hall of Fame.
But no,
top 5 quarterback all time.
Are y'all defending Dak Prescott or not? That's what I want to know.
I defended him until you guys decided I wasn't defending him.
What I'm saying is this. There's very few times this season where I haven't defended Dak Prescott. What I'm saying is when you look at the discourse as of late, as it pertains to Dak Prescott, all that people want to talk about is the turnovers, how he threw 2 picks against 49ers, how he missed 5 games and still led the league in picks. What I'm saying is if it is a problem that this 7 to 10 ranked guy threw 15 picks this year and cost his team the game, then it should also be a problem that this upper echelon talent led the league in turnovers. And so all I'm saying is, how is it a problem down here, but it's not a problem up here? The standard should be the same or at least higher for the guy that's supposed to be looked at as a higher talent and as the better quarterback. That's what I mean. So if you're gonna go out there, I'm not saying you do this, but what I'm saying is if you're going to slander Dak for turning the ball over, if you're going to look at Dak and say Dak's interceptions are the reason why his team lost games, then what I'm saying is you can also point to instances when Josh Allen fumbling the ball in the red zone, turning the ball over in crucial moments also cost his team the game, also cost the Buffalo Bills the games in crucial moments. That's all I'm saying.
I just don't think it's turnovers with Dak. I think people look at him to say, he doesn't have that explosive arm, sometimes doesn't make the right decisions, and hasn't won that clutch playoff game with a clutch moment. I think that's what it is. The turnovers are just like icing that people can, the low-hanging fruit, as JT always likes to say, like that's the low-hanging fruit for people. But I think it's truly that he is looked at as he can't win the big game, can't be the clutch quarterback, and we want something more exciting, a Joe Burrow, a Joe Cool type of guy, Patrick Mahomes, who's throwing left-handed passes, right-handed passes. Like, Dak isn't sexy, like, in terms of his style and game. He's not. And I think that plays a part of it.
Dallas hopes that the character of Dak Prescott would have translated to his play on the field.
In leading the team, like elevating guys that aren't as good as they are.
Correct. If you're going to be that much of a leader off the field, they want to see that on the field, and they don't get that out of him.
Excuse me. I still think Dak Prescott, if he has a reliable number 2, and if he has a healthy offensive line, which is what he had for a period of time.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah, and I think Dak Prescott can and likely will win a Super Bowl if he's in the right position. I just don't think the Cowboys, specifically Jerry Jones, has swallowed his ego enough to allow someone else to come in and help facilitate putting the Cowboys in the best position possible because they're there defensively. So they are there defensively. They're not there offensively.
This is my test that I always give it as far as quarterbacks nowadays. I think it was the 2019 season, the year that Big Ben threw out his elbow, right? The Steelers were 8-8, phenomenal defense. I think they traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick, phenomenal defense. I think that was the year that like Chase Claypool was a rookie. Who else? I don't know. Was AB still there? I can't even remember anymore. But we went 8-8 with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. So my question to me is
that was the year that Myles Garrett hit Mason Rudolph in the head with the helmet, right?
I think it was, yeah. So to me, that was a great Steeler team, but we didn't make the playoffs because we had no quarterback. We had Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. To me, I always ask myself, if whatever quarterback we're talking about, if they were on that team, do we make the playoffs and how far is our run? That's how I value quarterbacks. If Dak was on that team and the team was exactly the same, I think we make the playoffs. We probably get to an AFC title game and play Kansas City for the rights to the Super Bowl. So I would take Dak.
I agree. All right, let's get into some predictions and see if we have a couple other things to talk about. The New York Giants I think we're pretty much playing with house money this season. I think Brian Daboll is likely going to be a coach of the year. JT, will start with you because you kind of touched on this earlier with Daniel Jones likely going to be locked up into $30 million a year for however many years. Should the Giants keep both Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, and then will the Giants keep both Daniel Jones and Saquon?
Will they? I think they'll keep one of them, and if it's anyone, it's likely the quarterback. That just makes the most sense. Should they? Absolutely not. Like Brian Daboll just showed, like, look, I can win with trash. Go get me some gold. Like Barkley, I don't see how you extend him. I don't see how you franchise tag him. Like you were lucky to get this much out of him just based on all the injuries that he's had and like how he's become ineffective the more he plays every year. So I would definitely not be keeping him. And Daniel Jones, like, what did he do that was so great? Everybody's acting like he had some like monster breakout year where he was like 5th in the MVP voting or like he was like the best quarterback in the division. Like he just played like a high-level Tyrod Taylor, and all of a sudden I'm supposed to think he's worth $30 million. Like I'm not getting it. Like he shouldn't be franchise tagged. Like he shouldn't be extended to this big deal. Like they should move on and go find guys that can actually build around. Go get a quarterback in free agency or draft one, and then you can replace a running back. They're a dime a dozen.
Don, should the Giants keep both DJ and Saquon, and will they?
I don't think they should keep either. So I actually agree with JT and his reasons. I mean, you didn't win a Super Bowl with either one of them, and you didn't look good against the Eagles, but Daboll has something there going. Guys play hard for him. So go get a new franchise quarterback. And I always believe this. You can find a running back in the second round if you've got good scouts. Will they? I think this is what they're going to do. I think they will let Daniel Jones walk. I think that he's worth on a tag $32 million. They have the third most cap space of any team, a little bit north of $50 million. But with that tag, $32 million, that's 75% of their available cap. And if they're looking to sign him long term and not put a tag on him, then they're going to have to pay 30 to 35 million anyway, but on long-term contracts. So if it doesn't work out, now you've got all this dead cap. I think that would be a terrible move if they did that long-term. I think they go to Barkley, who, by the way, turned down a $12 million per year deal around the bye week, but he says he doesn't want McCaffrey money, which is $16 million on average. So he wants somewhere between 12 and 16. Too much for a running back at 26 that has an injury history. But if you tag him, it's only 8.9. So if you believe the defense is getting better, you can get some offensive skill position, mainly receiver in there, and you've got Barkley on a tag, now you can do what JT said and go get a quarterback. So I think at the end of the day, I don't know if they will do that. I think that's what they probably will end up doing, though, is let Jones walk and tag Barkley. I'll go with that.
All right, Mr. NFC East down there, wearing that good old Prescott jersey. What are the Giants going to do with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley?
What they should do is I would have liked to agree with the boys. Let them both
the
go.
Cowboys or JT?
Specific,
which boys? Your guys, the Cowboys?
When you talking about them boys, you got to be specific.
Oh yeah,
agree with JT and the Dawn. I'm so emotionally hurt right now. All right. What they will do is that New York franchises just know how to screw it up. So they're going to end up paying both. Daniel Jones, I think if the Giants have any backbone, you cap him at $22 million a year, which is probably still technically overpaying him. But just because of the quarterback market being so inflated, I think 22 would be the hard cap that I would put it at. As for Saquon, he's making $8 million now. He doesn't want to break the bank, right, so to speak.
But he turned down $12 million, so I don't know.
What that means. let's just cap it at what's Zeke making? 15. So he's gonna want 15, 16 million either way because he turned down 12 already, and that's what Joe Mixon's making and Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry. So I think if I had to make a decision if I was the Giants GM, you let him walk. Like how JT and the Don both said, you can find a running back anywhere in the draft and get some decent productivity. And then if you're really trying to upgrade at the quarterback position, you would let that go because Daniel Jones really had one great game this entire season, and it happened to be the playoff game. So how can you warrant that? Because if you look at his stats, he only threw 15 touchdowns the entire year. If you're excluding the Minnesota game,
yeah, all he did was just not be terrible.
All they did was limit the turnovers. That's all they did. That was the first step. They kind of let him play a little bit these last couple weeks. 1 week it went well, and the other week they got absolutely boat raced. So,
and I will say this about both of those guys too. Like we're acting like the Giants had like this great comeback renaissance. Like they still sucked against the division opponents. Like, they couldn't beat any of them. So if you're gonna now give these guys more money to come back to play the teams they really couldn't take care of in a division that they're gonna have to play again next year. Like I just think Daboll didn't sign up for that, man. Just go get Aaron Rodgers and then let the draft take care of the rest.
The counter argument, JT, just playing devil's advocate, is I feel like that it was a caveat for Daboll to take the job because they see in Daniel Jones a little just enough glitter dust of Josh Allen's, and trying to make him a Josh Allen 2.0 was like part of the deal why Daboll even was brought on in the first place.
I can see that.
Well, two things. Do you think Daboll would agree with that, considering he had a pretty good gig already in Buffalo where he didn't need to move on to the Giants? And then the other thing, is it terrible if they franchise tag Barkley? I mean, $8.9 million for that type of productivity is great value.
That's basically what he's making this year now. So It's not that far off. If you're going to tag one of them, it would be Barkley without question, right? So
yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a terrible idea if they bring him back on a tag.
It is. This football team is a very interesting football team. Like this is not a good football team. This team, there's nothing about this team that currently constructed right now that makes you think they run it back as is, obviously with whatever additions they acquire through the draft, that this is going to be a team to make the playoffs again. That's just not the case. It's possible because the NFC is wide open once you get past like 2 or 3 teams, but it's not likely. Like it's not going to. This isn't a team like the Eagles where we know like they're going to be in the playoffs next year. This isn't a team like the 49ers where we know most likely they'll be in the. Like this is not a team that we think. I think personally is going to run it back because they don't have anybody to throw the ball to. Like that's what this like. There is no one on that roster to throw the ball to that you can trust in a big time situation against one of the better teams in football, or against one of the better teams in the conference, or against other teams in the division that are good, and think that you can win football games. So really, what it comes down to, I think, for the Giants is what do they want to do? Do they just want to lock up Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley long term this season and then figure it out again next season and then add pieces? Or they're going to go figure out a way to go get one of these veteran guys out there that might be available, like a Derek Carr or someone else, tag Saquon or let him walk, trade DJ or let him walk or do whatever, and then bring in someone to throw the ball to. Because I don't see this team rattling off 6 of their first 7 next season the way they did this season, because their schedule is going to be slightly tougher. I don't see this team catching lightning in the bottle next year the way they did this year and just defying the odds and streaking into the playoffs and getting a bad matchup and winning a game and going on the road to the second round. I just don't see it, because this team can improve as far as just potential, as far as the players that it has getting better, but there's no one to throw the ball to. Like, the wide receiver room is bereft of talent. It might actually be the worst, if not one of the worst wide receiver rooms in football. Like, they need to find someone to throw the ball to, whether Daniel Jones is the quarterback or not. And I just don't know if there's a way that they can do that in a way that is conducive to maintain success long-term that doesn't look like just trying to figure it out again one more year before having more space. Because I know they have the third most cap in the offseason this season, but like it's not a lot. Like it's $50 million, but that's not a lot once you have to figure out what you're doing with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. It's just not. And I don't know if you're going to be able to go get a wide receiver or two in free agency or in the offseason or via trade or whatever to sign to bring onto the roster with the very little cap they'll have left.
They just to go get Kenny Galladay.
They could cut Kenny Galladay.
Kenny Galladay actually got on the
Galladay.
field. Can you believe it? Like, Kenny Galladay actually played, like, in these last 2 weeks.
You know who else played, Blaine? Dak Prescott. Shush.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah, okay. Anyway,
JT, we're going to start with you.
talking.
We're going to start with you, JT, and we're going to start with you because you're wearing the hat. For the
I'm going to take this off real quick, so go ahead and ask your question.
Fourth time in their career, Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes will be doing battle for the second consecutive season. It will be in the AFC Championship game. JT, who is representing the AFC in the Super Bowl this year?
I'm going to go with the wise words of a guy that I don't think is so wise, but I think he was right about this. Do the Chiefs still have Andy Reid? Do the Chiefs still have Patrick Mahomes? Do the Chiefs still have Eric Bieniemy? The answer to the question is the Chiefs. It's always going to be the Chiefs. And to make matters worse, like, the Bengals are doing the most act like you've been there things I've ever seen. The mayor is saying that Joe Burrow should go file for paternity to be Patrick Mahomes' dad. Like, bro, like, chill. Like, y'all didn't even won a Super Bowl. And to make matters worse, they're calling Arrowhead Burrowhead Stadium. Like, did you see the Chris Jones clip today where he's just like, yeah, we'll see you at Burrowhead Stadium? Like, everybody was laughing in that room except him. Like, that's the guy that I don't want to piss off. Like, they're going to try to kill this man, Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow out there, like, with his mink coats and his cigars, like he back at LSU. Like, he hasn't been killed every year in the NFL except for this one. Like, bro, I think the Chiefs going to bring him back to reality real fast, man. I just think that they had a psychological advantage at one point, but they're just talking too much. Like, I know people say bulletin board material doesn't exist, but that shit's up there in the Arrowhead locker room this week. Like, what are y'all doing? Just shut up. You already beat this team multiple times. Just go there and do it again. But now they want to run their mouths like they're already Super Bowl champions. It is exactly why the Chiefs going to run their ass up the building.
Do you agree with your partner in crime, Don?
That was well said, JT. That was one of the better takes you've ever had, man. Yeah, I think if Mahomes is as healthy as they're saying, where there's not a limp and he can, scramble, he doesn't need to be running 50-yard runs, right? He's never going to be as fast as Michael Vick, but the scrambling is what hurts. And that was what was hurting Jacksonville early in that game. So if he's healthy, it's the Chiefs. And part of it is the Bengals were the hunter. Now they're the hunted, especially what JT is saying, the way they're talking, the way they're acting. You're still going on the road, dude. And you were underdogs to start, but so many people now think you're going to win that the line flipped in their favor. The betting line flipped. At one point on Wednesday, they were still 1.5-point favorites. So that means so much money's coming on the Bengals that everyone thinks the Bengals are going to win. So now you are the hunted, and the Bengals have never been in that spot. Joe Burrow in the NFL never has been in that spot. And that's tough, man. You go ask a lot of these teams, how do you handle pressure? Go ask Buffalo Bills. They couldn't handle it, right?
Go ask the Browns in their own division.
Exactly. That was part of my comparison that I've mentioned before, right? Like, you're not drafting anymore, the top 5 picks because you're winning. So now what are you going to do? You got to put up or shut up. And they're doing a lot of talking where you just woke up a Super Bowl champ. Andy Reid, Bieniemy, Mahomes, a lot of those guys still have rings on their fingers from winning. You don't think that they don't have a little bit of pride and they don't want to shut you up? Like, they're probably looking at it now. This is exactly what the Chiefs needed. Exactly what they needed. I've got the Chiefs. And that O-line is much better than last year and better than 2 years ago for the Chiefs. It is, Marcus. You can say all you want.
I'm just curious as to, you got the Chiefs. You were going to say you got the Chiefs doing something, and then you started talking about the O-line.
I'm saying they're going to win. They're going to win. And the reason is that O-line is better. This is how I'll leave it. The Bengals last year, I think, were healthier on the offensive line. I still think defensively they were a little better last year. They were just clicking. And the Chiefs O-line was not as good. and the defense wasn't as good. But this year, they have a running game. O-line is better. Isaiah Pacheco and McKinnon, not big names, but they fit exactly what they want to do. And even without Tyreek Hill, I think that offense is more efficient. So to me, the Bengals should not have won that game last year. Terrible play call at the end of the first half. They were about to get run out of the building, and then they somehow win. Bengals aren't as good, I don't think, this year as they were last year because everything was clicking last year. And the Chiefs are better. I think the Chiefs win.
Blaine, who you have winning this game?
I have Joe Cool and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, come on, man. I you know what? I hope Chris Jones knocks the cigar out this man's mouth, man. Like,
I honestly saw that and I
like. They acting like he's Shaft. Like, this is
I agree.
Joe Burrow. Sorry.
Why are you wearing the hat then? Why are you wearing the hat?
To piss you off. Now I'm taking this shit off. How about that? There, you happy now? There, I'm wearing this hat. I wore it to piss you off.
Those are wins to be in life.
No, I got Cincinnati, and I think the biggest matchup to really watch is who's going to produce offensively outside of Travis Kelce. Because he is the sole reason they beat Jacksonville. Like,
I mean, that's the Chiefs all year, though.
Yeah, that's fair. So I think the biggest thing
that's the sole reason, but go ahead.
But and then I know you guys are saying based off the reports that Mahomes is potentially healthy. Guys, he doesn't get touched in practice, and they're playing in an indoor facility. It's going to be below freezing.
But
that ankle's going to lock up.
Joe Burrow's getting smacked in practice. And he's like, I can take this on Sunday. Like,
I agree. I agree. But
Blaine,
he's
but
also
ankle,
playing hurt.
The
ankle sprain's the hardest thing to play on, arguably, for the quarterback, especially when it's his plant foot.
They gonna shoot him up real good though, man. You know, the NFL got that. They got that Jurassic World type stuff, man. He's gonna be all right.
Tyrod Taylor thought the same thing, and then just that ended his career basically. So, I think the biggest thing is that Cincinnati's defense is better than it was a year ago in the postseason. Their front four is a lot more stout, and I really am intrigued by. I mean, they're going to get burnt on the outside. That's inevitable with Eli Apple. You can lock him up. You can put money down that he's going to get beat at least 3 times over the top. You can lock that in even though he's the cornerback one. The real question will be, how does Jesse Bates cover Kelce? Because I think that'll be another interesting thing to watch, because I feel like Bates is the only one that can really match up with Kelce with his skill set, with his physicality and his speed to actually kind of give Kelce a little bit of problems. Kelce's going to get his. That's undoubtedly right.
Bro, Kelce's about to take Bates for a ride, just like every other person that lines up against him. We do the same shit every week. The Chiefs play, and there's only one guy on that team that can make any plays, and there his big ass is running downfield 40 yards wide open. We're like, what happened? Who was covering this man?
That's fair.
Jesse Bates going to look at Coach and be like, I don't want to guard him because he can't. Nobody can guard Kelce.
That's fair. But I have the ankle being more of an issue than what you guys feel, and that's why I'm rolling with the Bengals. If he was fully healthy and he didn't get hurt last week, I would be taking Kansas City. But I've got question marks because I've had a high ankle sprain before. I'm not elite like he is, but I know that's a son of a B to play on. So
I ain't gonna lie, man. You sound kind of elite, man. Walk us through your high ankle sprain.
I know. I want to know.
This.
How did you do it? How did you do it? How did you recover?
Give us your diagnosis.
And what were your stats after?
I took about 8 ibuprofens because I can't get shot up like they can. I don't have the high quality medic. And then you wrap that up 6 times, and you just hope that it doesn't slip. If you slip at all, you are down for the count for another 10 minutes.
My other question is, as you were doing this, did you feel like Superman because you had the Dak jersey on?
I did. I really did. With the Dak jersey on, really made a difference.
You can do anything with it.
JT, I'm not too ashamed. I'm not too disappointed in you because
you about to say you're not too ashamed to be damn. Go ahead, man.
History of bad takes. I'm not disappointed in Blaine because are we
gonna have a receipt session? Y'all. See, Don says shit with glasses on. He says it this nice way, and everybody thinks he's right. He's freaking horrible.
the last time Blaine gave me a bad take, ended up with him in a Dak Prescott jersey. So we're not surprised there. Don, I'm disappointed in you though, Don. I mean, this is simple mathematics here. These two teams have faced off against each other 3 times in the last 2 years. Each of the last 3 times, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals have won. 2 of those times it's been an Arrowhead. But it's not just that. Joe Burrow has outplayed Patrick Mahomes 3 times. And he's the only quarterback that I can say that he has done so more than once. Now, JT's rolling his eyes because he knows what's coming. The Civil War name's coming. Joseph Lee Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals are going back into Arrowhead, and they're going to win this game. It's not going to be a rout. It's going to be just as explosive as the last 3 games were. It's going to finish within 3 points. But, like, the Cincinnati Bengals are the better football team. The Cincinnati Bengals are the hotter football team. The Cincinnati Bengals have been, for the last 2.5 months, the better football team than the Kansas City Chiefs. And I really don't, because I know Don is going to try to give me a bunch of analytical.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to finish.
Yeah, they think you
Don's got the
PFF.
numbers. He's like, yeah, buddy.
I'm waiting.
I don't really care. Like, there's really nothing that Don can say because this is just kind of what it is. Like Joe Burrow has proven so far in his it hasn't been he hasn't been in the NFL. He hasn't been on this level for a very long time. I understand that, but Joe Burrow has proven to be the most of all the young quarterbacks, the most surgical and the most mental of them all. And like the things he does pre-snap and what he does under center and the way that he can just the things that he does. He's one of the very few that can do it. There's really not much. Like, I don't have a list of numbers for you the way that Don usually does and the way that I usually do. I don't have stats and I don't have records. I have what I know. And what I know is every time these two teams have matched up, it's resulted in the Kansas City Chiefs going home with an extra L in the loss column. And I have no reason to think that that's not going to happen again. So the Cincinnati Bengals for the 2nd consecutive season are going to go into Arrowhead come championship Sunday, and they're going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're going to go back to the Super Bowl. And that's just going to be what it's going to be. And there's nothing that anyone on this panel.
This is why I can't with Marcus, man. First of all, let's talk about Joe Burrow. Like, oh, he's so surgical. Oh, he's the best. Oh my God, we should have a Civil War monument after this dude. Like, he's so impressive. Is he good? Yes, but also let's not overlook some glaring things. Yeah, they beat Kansas City the last 3 times, but 2 of those times they played them was like in a rare, like they played them in like back-to-back scenarios where like you very rarely get that in the NFL. Like they played them the last week of the regular season, then they got them in the playoffs. Like that very rarely happens, and Cincinnati was on a hot streak. But also, Joe Burrow, I can easily make the case that in his young career, he's probably the most fortunate quarterback of these young guys. Because They always play some team and they get lucky. They played Baltimore without a quarterback, right? Did he play well in that game? No. They went on the road and Josh Allen choked, and he got lucky then. And now he gets Patrick Mahomes with a high ankle sprain that Blaine says you basically need to be drugged up to play with. Like and they played Tennessee last year, who was probably the worst number 1 seed in NFL history. Like he is, some of his success is fortunate. He's been fortunate.
Joe Burrow, and this is why sometimes it always gets towards the witching hour of the show when I understand every time you and Don come on the show why Don says some of the things he says about your takes. JT, that is the laziest take I have ever heard you give. And you've given some pretty lazy ones. That's the laziest one ever. It's so easy. It's low-hanging fruit. Fortunate. Joe Burrow is a fantastic quarterback. Like, Joe Burrow, say what you want about how poorly Josh Allen played last week. Joe Burrow played great football last week. He did. He played great football last week. He
played a good game. I'll give him that. I never dissed him. I never said he didn't play a good game. But
what you're saying is, if Josh
he hasn't had to go through a murderer's row at any point in his career in the playoffs. And then the one time he actually played a team that had a defense, they smacked the shit out of him.
Has Patrick Mahomes ever had to go through murderer's row in the playoffs? JT, he's hosted 5 straight AFC Championship games. His team averages 32 points per game, and they're winning by 2 possessions almost all the time. I can count on one hand the amount of times they've won or lost a game in the postseason by more than a possession. I can count on one hand.
So Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs will just be getting a free ride, right? They haven't played anybody.
I didn't say that, but you're acting as if the Kansas City Chiefs haven't hosted 5 straight AFC Championship games.
They're good because Patrick Mahomes is that dude and the best quarterback in the league. That's not a lazy take. That's facts.
Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs have also won more two-possession playoff games in the last 5 years than anybody. It's what they do. So let's not sit here and act like Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs have gone through death row because they.
Can I go yet, Mark?
We're not going to do.
I'm itching over here, man.
We're not going to do.
The child is talking
here, and we're not going to figure out all these different dumb ways to discredit Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, because all they do is they prove time and time and time again they deserve to be here. Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. Joe Burrow shows up. He shows up with a cigar, with fur jacket on, with shine glasses on, whatever it is, and he gets the job done night in and night out. And he's going to do it again this Sunday in Kansas City again, and they're going to go back to the Super Bowl. Like I can't believe that you have the audacity to sit here and talk about how lucky Joe Burrow is, as if he doesn't show up and do his job, as if he doesn't show up and outplay whoever's on the other side of him. I can't believe you. I just can't believe you. I just can't believe you would part your lips to say such crazy things. I'm
gonna say something else that's gonna shock you. Like, I stand on what I say. They are lucky, man. Like, anybody could have beat the Tennessee Titans last year, man. Like, they're not a good team, and they were the number 1 seed. He really, Joe Burrow. He owe all his playoff success to Lamar Jackson, because Lamar Jackson's healthy. You already know how that's going down. But let's be real about Joe Burrow though. Like,
Kyle Huntley should have won that game if he knew how to do a proper QB sneak.
Thank you. Like, Joe Burrow got bailed out by a fumble recovery. Like, I get it. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying he's not in my personal top 5 quarterbacks. But this goes back to the entire premise of the whole show. Like, while you over here boosted up Joe Burrow, it's like, okay, he didn't win the Super Bowl. He didn't get it done. Like, if he loses this weekend, what are you going to say? You still going to be saying his full name? Like, you're going to be making excuses for him? Like,
no, I don't make excuses.
They are playing a very dangerous game. And Vegas is telling you they're playing a dangerous game because it's really a pick 'em. And they're trying to fool the public into thinking the Bengals should be favored. And the Bengals are out there running their mouth and against the best quarterback and the best coach left in the playoffs, and they still got to go on the road. Like, this is stupid.
Wait. So if the Cincinnati Bengals have to go on the road to play the best coach and the best quarterback in the game and they lose, what excuse would you need to justify a loss?
What do you mean for the Bengals?
If the Bengals lose to a team on the road that you said has the best coach and the best quarterback,
with the quarterback that's 50%, yeah, they gonna get the smoke. Just simply because of this tirade you just went on. Just simply for that, the Bengals are the best thing ever. Joe Burrow's the best thing ever. He is Shaft reincarnated.
You're exaggerating. What you do is take takes and you make them very hyperbolic. All I said is Joe Burrow outplays Pat Mahomes every time they play, and he wins the football game. That's all that matters.
The question is Chiefs Bengals. It's not Mahomes Burrow. So these are two things. But let me explain. If you're in Vegas or any casino and you're at the roulette table and 3 Reds have hit, right?
He might be too young for that, though. You got to explain that to him.
Isn't there a good chance you're like, can't hit 4 times in a row, I'm going black? And that's what I'm betting on. There is no way that, in my mind, the Bengals can beat a Super Bowl caliber team like the Chiefs with a proven Super Bowl quarterback like Mahomes 4 times in a row.
Why not?
I'm just explaining it to you. The odds. And then on top of that, you're a little too young for this, and I hate saying that, but you're going to learn Vegas controls a lot when it comes to sports, all right? And it is telling you right now that, one, I believe Vegas doesn't lose. And right now, 70% of the public money, which is people like us, non-pro bettors, is on Cincy. The sharp money, which is the pro bettors, is coming on Kansas City. So at the end of the day, the pro bettors, I'm going with the pro bettors. If they say KC's going to win.
We going with the bettors with the real mansions.
The public is usually wrong, and they're going to be wrong because they're 70% on the Bengals, and Vegas can't lose that sort of money. They need the Chiefs to win, and they will win.
Okay. That's all fine and dandy. I don't care about Vegas, bro. I don't.
You will. You will learn one day. You will learn one day.
Hey, man, I wouldn't say it on camera. They'll send somebody to get you, man. You ain't too young to get got by the Vegas.
I am not. Listen, I have had in my life. I've had one good history teacher. I've passed one history class. In that one history class with that one good history teacher, all I was ever taught that you should always pay attention to history, lest you are doomed to repeat it. And history has showed me that the Cincinnati Bengals have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs every time they. I don't like it. So because here's the thing. So this is what's going to happen, and this is how this is just how life works, right? And this is how sports always works. Before we go,
hey, Mark is going to teach us about life.
Yes. Teach us about life.
This is just what happens. I know this happens. It happens all the time. If for some godforsaken reason, according to Don, the Bengals defy the odds and they win this football game, then everyone's going to come up and they're going to get on their podcast and they're going to get on their phones, they're going to text their friends, they're going to go to their barbershops, and the talking heads are going to get on TV. They're going to say, oh, well, if Pat Mahomes was healthy, then the Chiefs would have won. We don't know that because Pat Mahomes the last 3 games has been healthy. In the last 3 games, they've lost. So I don't want to hear a health argument. I don't want to hear an ankle sprain. There's really not much I want to hear right now because the Cincinnati Bengals are a good football team. They're not just a good football team. They're a great football team. And they've proven time and time again that they are a great football team. And there's no reason why I should think that they're not going to win this game.
Man,
you're right about history.
Man, you and the Bengals talking real tough, man.
All I'm saying is I think the Bengals are going to win this game. I don't think the Bengals are going to smack around the game.
You got to be a Bengals fan, man.
I'm not.
Only Bengals fans is talking like this right now.
I'm not. No one smacks around the Chiefs. It's going to be a close game as it's always been. All I'm saying is the Bengals are going to win the game. That's all.
There's 2 things in history you're missing. 50 years of futility by the Bengals and the Chiefs that just, 3 years ago won a Super Bowl, 2 years ago was in a Super Bowl.
Chiefs also took 50 years to win their second Super Bowl as well.
And that's fine, but they did win it. Cincy didn't win it last year, did they? And then the other thing is, you talk about history.
Tomorrow or Sunday.
You talk about history. Since he was going into all these games quiet with a nice, quiet confidence, that's changing because you know what's happening? They're starting to believe in that hype. They're starting to listen to guys like Marcus.
They're one of the best teams in football. Why shouldn't they?
But there's a difference the way you handle it. They woke up a sleeping giant when they weren't doing all this stuff before. But they're listening to guys like Marcus. They're listening to all the writers in Cincinnati. Like, we don't even got to work as hard. We got Joe Cool with the cigar. I'm taking Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. That's a bad man. I want Patrick Mahomes.
Thing is so hyper and outrageous. Don, this is extremely out of character for you. This is ridiculous. No one's denying that Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback in football, and no one's denying the greatness of Pat Mahomes.
Like you are.
I'm not. What I'm saying is, despite his greatness, I'm going to pick the Bengals, and I'm allowed to say that because I've looked at the Cincinnati Bengals for the last 2 years, and I've seen what they've done over the last 2 years, and I've looked at what Joe Burrow's done over the last 2 years, and I've looked at what Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd, and what T. Higgins.
Let's forget what Mahomes has done over the last 2 years too.
His career.
Also great. And what I'm saying is, that's all fine and dandy. He still hasn't beaten Joe Burrow. Pat Mahomes has done a lot of things in football. He hasn't beat Joe Burrow. It just hasn't happened. It just hasn't. And it is not outlandish to think that it won't happen again. It's not crazy to think that the Bengals can go to Arrowhead.
I didn't say it was crazy. I'm just saying it ain't gonna happen.
You did. You've actually sat here and gone so hyperbolic with the things that I've said. All I said is the Bengals are going to win, and you and JT are sitting there like I'm talking about the Bengals are going to hang 50 and blow them out the water. I'm not saying.
Man, maybe we got to rewind the tape, man. But everything you said sounded like it was going to be a blowout, and there's no.
It's not going to be a blowout.
That's what I took away from it. Maybe my ears don't work as good as they used to. But you sound like.
I said 4 times that it's not going to be a blowout. It's not going to be a blowout. I'm not an idiot like Blaine who just says crazy things just for the sake of saying.
Whoa, man.
I do not think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be.
I actually gave analysis on this game. You guys just gave off on a personal history lesson on your feelings about Cincinnati.
Blaine, you let your feelings for Dak Prescott.
My feelings is always only about the Cowboys. That's it. Everything else.
Man, I tell you what, man. If the Bengals don't win, I promise you, Marcus will deactivate his account because he don't want to hear from nobody. He don't want to hear from nobody.
To win games,
but all the pressure, all seriousness, all the pressure is on Cincy, and they keep making it worse for themselves. Like,
that's fine. It happens.
That's like as a kid Like you ever like been chased by a dog or like been in the neighborhood where there's bad dogs and the dog is inside the gate and like they can't get out but they ain't get you and you keep like messing with them in front of the gate. Yeah, you go back that one time, the dog will jump the gate and get your ass. Like,
that's fine. I'm
keep
not
messing around.
Those things. All I'm saying is, I think the Bengals are going to win the game. Blaine, who's winning the NFC Championship game on Sunday?
I am taking both teams that are on the road. I'm taking the San Francisco 49ers to get it done. Everything points to the Philadelphia Eagles on paper, right? Based off of what's going to happen, based off of the best way to beat Philadelphia is to mitigate their pass rush, and it's their run defense that is their weak link on this football team. And what do the 49ers have that I think can minimize that? It's not CMC, because I think Deebo Samuel is going to be a workhorse out of the backfield. I really do. He's going to show off the physicality. Kyle Shanahan understands that he's going to need the physical presence out of Deebo. And the running back style of Deebo in the backfield is going to be the difference. I think Deebo is going to have a monster game. I really do. And I've got it being more low scoring because of how lethal that San Francisco defense is. I think Tre'Davious Ward's going to have to. I think he won't take AJ. I actually think he'll probably take Devontae Smith, because I think Devontae is the person that Jalen goes to more when it matters most because of that college connection that they have. So I think I am going to take, and I think the one thing that also goes under the radar is with Philadelphia is the matchup of Fred Warner versus Jalen Hurts. Whoever wins that matchup, that kind of matchup with the quarterbacks on the offensive defensive side of the ball is going to be the difference. And I think Fred Warner is going to understand that RPO and limit Jalen's legs. And I think that's going to minimize him to just throwing the ball. And I've got San Francisco winning a tight one, 20. I have 28-24 San Francisco.
Don, who's going to that Super Bowl in the NFC?
It's going to be Philly. It's Philly. Brock Purdy has not seen a defensive line or a hostile crowd like he's going to see in Philly on Sunday. That Philly D-line, listen to this. This is ridiculous. Not only have they had the third most sacks, I think, ever in the history of the NFL, only behind like the 85 and 84 Bears. They've got Reddick, Hargrave, Graham, and Josh Sweat, all with double-digit sacks. And then you got to add Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Ndamukong Suh, and Robert Quinn to guys that are also on that defensive line. So, Blaine, you might be right. 49ers, they might be a heck of a running team. But you know what? They can stack the box and say, Brock Purdy, go ahead and beat us, because you're not going to be able to, because we got Bradbury out there. We got a secondary that we trust. And if you're going to run Deebo, that's great. That means less routes he's going to run. And again, in Philly, rookie quarterback, Philly right now is just looking too good. 49ers got lucky against Dallas, and Dallas was not hitting on all cylinders. They obviously weren't healthy. I mean, I think this is Philly, and it'll be close, but Philly's going to look good. I don't think the 49ers can beat them. And that defense of the 49ers, while they're good, I think they're a little overhyped. They're a little overrated. They can be scored on. Look what Seattle did. You know, Dallas was able to move the ball at times, even without Pollard. Like, they're not as good in that Philly offense, dude. They're up. What they did against that Giants defense, I mean, they just look so good. And Hurts is healthy, man. I don't care what anyone says. He's fine. He's healthy enough to where he can play at this time of year.
J2, who's winning the NFC Championship game on Sunday?
I'm gonna give the laziest take of all time. Let me sit back for a second. Hold on. I'm gonna be lazy because I'm just gonna pick the teams that I picked to win this, to go to Super Bowl in the preseason. That's why I picked the Chiefs to win their game, and I'm probably gonna be wrong with this one, but I got to pick the 49ers to win because I picked them to go to the Super Bowl and face the Chiefs. So
Mark, I got to deal with all the time. See this?
I really do want to.
I mean, both of his teams are there. You got to do it.
I got to do it. I want to pick the Eagles because I agree.
You act like he pulled these teams out of nowhere and they were
First of all, nobody thought the 49ers were going to the Super Bowl with Trey Lance as a quarterback.
They made the NFC title game.
Nobody did, and the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I did because I just believe in Mahomes. But I'm gonna obviously on paper I'm gonna pick the 49ers just because I'm almost at the finish line and I gotta stick to it. But I agree with everything Don said, and it wouldn't surprise me if Philly wins this game. Like, it's at home. Philly is hostile environment. I think they have the best roster on both sides of the ball in football. And at some point, Brock Purdy just got to turn back into a pumpkin. And it's like, it's not exactly like he's been Cinderella either. Like, he's not exactly winning these games. Like, Blaine, with his high ankle sprain, with only 2 ibuprofen, can go out there and dump off the ball to Debo and CMC and let them run wild. So, like, we're not gonna get into that. But the whole Brock Purdy is QB1 and he's Tom Brady, he's God. Like, that's ridiculous. So he's gonna have to play in this game. Like, for real, he's gonna have to play. And I want to see what he's made of. Like, he could shock me, but I'm prepared to be disappointed. Like, I think Philly's a juggernaut, man. And I've been saying it for basically 2/3 of the season. Best roster in football, most complete roster in football on both sides of the ball, because they can win any type of game that they're thrown into. If it's a physical run fest, they can do that. If you need them to score 50 points, they can do that. Not every team is built on that. And you said something very interesting, Don, that I've been to myself been thinking for a while. I do think that 49ers defense is overrated. It's really just 2 guys. It's Bosa and it's Warner. Like, they got some other good guys, but I feel like the depth isn't there at other positions like it is with the Eagles. Like,
and not the way it was in previous years. For
like they had what, Armstead, and they had Buckner, and they had Bosa, and they had Fred Warner, and the remains of Richard Sherman, who was still playing pretty decent. But it's like, they don't have that. They don't have those guys anymore. Like, if Bosa gets neutralized, like, who steps up as a pass rusher? If Fred Warner can't win the one-on-one game with Jalen Hurts, like Blaine said, like, they're in trouble. Like, I feel like everything in this game tells me it's going to come down to how well can Brock Purdy play, and he got to make all the plays. And it's just time for him to show why he was Mr. Irrelevant. So I'm picking the 49ers on paper only because of previous commitments, but Philly going to win this game. That's where I do with that information as you will. Yeah.
I think the one thing to actually watch, though, too, is the Philly fan base, like how that Philly fan base is. They will let you know how they really feel. So I think the one thing that San Fran has to do if they want to win this game, they got to get up early, because Philadelphia will let their team know if they are not liking what they are seeing. Like, they will happily boo them off the field at halftime. And that might be something that actually might hinder them, because they haven't gotten the boo birds all year long. So that'd be something else to look out for, too, is if San Francisco gets out early.
Joe Burrow gonna win this game. We already know what he's gonna say.
Oh, Joe Burrow got traded to who?
This is what a game.
Go ahead. I know you want to say Joe Burrow gonna beat the 49ers on the road in Philly. He gonna sub in. He gonna win the game, and then he just gonna walk out like Joe Namath with his mink on and his cigarettes and his cowboy boots. And you know what I'm saying, he's gonna be the first dude to win the playoff game for 2 teams in the same playoff.
The 49ers are going to win this game.
Wow.
It's not because they are. It's not because they're the. Oh man! It's not because the Eagles aren't good. The Eagles are a good football team. The Eagles are a fantastic football team. But the Eagles just can't stop the run, bro. Like, I've watched the Eagles time and time again this season struggle against the run. I have, and as a Packers fan, I know that if there's anything the 49ers want to do in playoff games, especially on the road, is run the football. And they're not going to stop. Like, they're going to keep going, bro. And it's not going to end. And I am not denying the talent that exists in the secondary of Philadelphia. I'm not denying the talent that exists up front. I'm not denying the talent that exists out wide, in the backfield, on either lines, in the middle, in the linebacking core. I just don't know if the Eagles are going to be able to stop the run. And to me, that's ultimately what I think it's going to come down to. I think if we've learned anything from the 49ers over the past couple of years with Jimmy G, we've learned that Kyle Shanahan is not going to put Brock Purdy in a position where he has to win the game. And I think he knows how to do that, because he's been doing that with Jimmy G for the past 4 or 5, however many years it's been that Jimmy G's been the quarterback and they've had these big games. Like, he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that this game does not come down to Brock Purdy having to win the game. And it's not because Brock Purdy can't do it. It's just because Brock Purdy's a rookie and that's just too much pressure for a rookie in this kind of situation. And if you're not gonna if you're not gonna want to put the ball in the hands of a vet who's been doing it for a long time, Kyle Shanahan's definitely gonna do whatever it takes to not let the ball be in the hands of Brock Purdy when it really, really counts. I agree with Blaine. I think the 49ers' best chance to win is to get out to a fast start. And I think if there's any team that can get out to a fast start and get out to a quick lead against this football team in Philadelphia, it is the San Francisco 49ers. So I think the 49ers are going to win, but it's going to be like 24-21, 24-20, something like that.
I think run defense is like some of the most overrated like talking points where you're talking about stuff like this. Because like I say all the time, like nobody wants to stop the run. Like if you look at the top run defenses, like top 15, half of the teams ain't even in the playoffs. Like it's about who you're playing, what the score is. Like it's like if we're gonna hang our hat on like, hey, Philly can't stop the run. Like if they gotta do it, they gotta do it. The difference with the Packers is y'all can't stop the run and y'all can't do anything else. Like you can't be a bad run defense and then put up 3 points. Like, yeah, then the run defense looks like it's an issue. Like Philly will be fine, man. Y'all keep talking about this run defense. And it's like, all right, cool. Like they gotta keep winning games.
I'll go out a little bit on a limb, Marcus. I think Philly gets on them early, and this ain't even competitive. Like it may end up being a 14-point game and it looks competitive. I think Philly gets on them early, and your good point. I disagree with JT about run defense being overrated. It is not.
That's all y'all got. That's all y'all got. Titles in the 70s and run defense. That's all you got. I get it.
But so Marcus brings up a good point with that. But Marcus, one way to counter that is Philly gets the ball. They move down the field like they did against the Giants. Guess what? Saquon was irrelevant. They'll do the same thing and say, you got to pass it, Brock Purdy. And now we send in our guys, right? So I just think Philly's that much better, man. 49ers worried me the way they played against the Cowboys. Either the Cowboys played out of their minds or the Niners regressed a little bit. They weren't convincing against Seattle too. And there's something to that because last year when they beat your Packers, bro, they were looking good. They just ran into the Rams, right? But this year,
they dropped a lollipop of a pick to lose that game.
But yeah, that's true. But going back to what JT said, like, I just don't think they have the depth. They're a different 49er team, man. It's like, to me, they're running on fumes at this point. And Brock Purdy, like, it'd be different if they had in his prime Tom Brady who can carry them even if they're on fumes. Brock Purdy never has done this.
And the way Brock Purdy is winning is not sustainable for this type of game that he could be in. Like it's low ADOT, it's low turnover worthy throws, but it's like no big time throws. Like they're literally asking him to do nothing. Like I said, Marcus, you're 6'3", right? You might be 6'4" now. You're still growing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you could go out there and make these throws. Like I don't know if y'all seen the movie The Gridiron Game. The quarterback on that team could go out there and throw these, and he can't even throw. Like Brock Purdy, it's either going to be this game or next season. He's going to regress hard, man. Like at some point, he's going to have to win the game for the 49ers, and everybody's going to be like, oh, okay, this is why he was the last pick in the draft.
I think this is the game. I'm telling you, I think the Eagles get on them early, and it's just, it stays a 2-touchdown game. It just never feels competitive.
It never feels close.
There's one more thing I want us to talk about since we're talking about Brock Purdy. And I know it's way too early to talk about this, but this is the San Francisco 49ers we're talking about, and this is something that I think is still in the back of their minds, despite the fact that they have obviously a football game to win this Sunday and potentially another one in 2 weeks if they get the job done on the road. And Don, I'll start with you on this one because you kind of alluded to it. Brock Purdy right now is the starting quarterback. Jimmy G is not going to be on this roster next season because they did draft Trey Lance. And at the very least, we know that Trey Lance and Brock Purdy are going to be the two quarterbacks rostered for the 49ers coming into next season. So far, through what Brock Purdy has done, has he done enough so far, despite whatever happens on Sunday against the Eagles, to have already locked up the starting job for next season? Or is Trey Lance going to be the starter next year?
I honestly believe, and this sounds probably a little unrealistic, but I believe it falls on what happens in this game. If it's a slugfest and it's a shootout and Purdy's going toe-to-toe with Hurts and it just happens at the end, Philly has the ball at the end, kicks a field goal, and it's like, oh, well, we lost 40-37. What can you do? He's got the job. But if it's where they lose, as I'm saying, where it's not close, Purdy's not helping them, I think when they sit down and look back and they say, how do we get over that hump? Meaning, how do we beat Philly in that NFC title game? Oh, we need a different quarterback. Then I think it's an open competition, or they go back to Trey Lance. So I think the future of their starting quarterback, whoever that may be, for at least the next year or two, falls on this game. I truly believe it. If Purdy balls out 300 yards, scores 30, 35 points, he's not the reason they lose. I think it's his job. If he falters, right, JT's saying like he can't handle this smoke. If he can't handle it, I think Shanahan's going to look and say, all right, we got to reevaluate everything, either open competition or, hey, it's Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, thank you. You'll remain our backup, and you can always jump in if Trey gets off to a slow start. So it depends on this game.
JT, is the future of the starting job for the 49ers next season depend on what happens on Sunday?
I think it'll play a factor because to me, if you would have asked me this question a week ago, I would have said, oh, yeah, it's going to be Trey Lance because money talks. Like, they traded up to number 3 to get him. And, like, let's be honest, like, Trey Lance played one game in shitty weather and then got his leg blown up in the next game. So, like, really haven't seen Trey Lance. And the other thing is, how sure are we that Brock Purdy isn't just Mike White? Like how are we not sure that's not what's going on? Like Mike White, a guy that comes in that doesn't have to do too much, but he's looking sexy doing it with a bunch of weapons, and then like once people get tape on him after a few games, it's like, oh, that's a reason why you were a third-string quarterback when camp closed. So I'm probably more skeptical about Brock Purdy than anybody. But here's the thing: well, I will change the answer that I had, because initially I would say no, it's going to be Trey Lance for financial reasons, and he's supposed to be the guy. But I don't know if this is like a recent podcast, but I keep seeing these clips about Kyle Shanahan on this podcast talking about his career and Johnny Manziel and Trey Lance, all this stuff. And I always wondered, I felt like somebody, either him or John Lynch, did not want to draft Trey Lance. And I couldn't put my finger on it. Just by the way they would play Trey Lance, it didn't seem like they were playing him as a franchise quarterback that they believe and they want to protect. And after watching Kyle Shanahan in this podcast, like, it's clear to me he the one that did not want Trey Lance. And, like, Brock Purdy is his type of guy. So I think regardless of what happens, I think that it's probably going to be Brock Purdy, because this is what Shanahan wants. Like, Brock Purdy has played well enough for people to say, like, hey, like, if Kyle Shanahan chooses him to be QB1 next season, like, that's fine. Like, all the sports talking heads are saying it. The 49ers fans are saying it. Like, he has a green light to make a mistake, and I think he will. So I'm going to say, regardless of what happens in this game, Brock Purdy will be the QB1 next year once training camp is over, unless he completely does something ridiculous, like he looks bad in camp, or he looks bad in 1 or 2 games, and it's like people start scaling back. But I really don't see, like, what's gonna stop Kyle Shanahan from making him the QB1. Like, I don't see it.
Playing good.
I mean, I really don't know, because the Niners are the one team probably in the NFL that they do whatever they want each year. It's a full reevaluation, like JT and Donna both laid out, that they do a full eval as soon as the season's over. And I feel like Kyle Shanahan doesn't even know what he's going to do with the quarterback position. Based off of this year, I mean, I think Brock Purdy's earned the number 1 spot to going into camp. But again, like, the Niners, the way they evaluate year in, year out is completely different, unlike most of the franchises in the NFL. Like, with how John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan look at things, like the whole Garoppolo and them trading up for Trey Lance, right? Garoppolo was the reason he wasn't the reason they were winning games, but they were winning games with Jimmy G at quarterback, and they were losing so many games without Jimmy G at quarterback, and yet they go at a completely different metric and go get Trey Lance. And now you have a very similar style player of Jimmy Jimmy Garoppolo's like style of play in Brock Purdy, and now he's gone undefeated since he's been the starting quarterback, right? I mean, for me, I would lean Brock Purdy as the quarterback going QB1, like JT said. I think he's earned it. I think he fits what Kyle Shanahan likes to do with how Jimmy Garoppolo and even Matt Ryan before that, how they utilize their quarterbacks. And the only time that he's really gone with an athletic style quarterback was with RG3 in Washington. And that was only for one season because RG3's durability didn't hold up. And then he went to Kirk Cousins right after that. So you really have to look at the style of quarterback that they have. And I think JT is kind of right on the head there with that. I think John Lynch was the one that wanted an athletic style quarterback because Kyle Shanahan's success has been with it was more of a more stand-in, run the ball, play action, really feed off and look at accuracy as your best component and not as your arm talent and athletic ability.
Yeah, he always seems like he wants quarterbacks that will play like in the structure of the play call. Like he doesn't want anybody like that's going to extend it and break it down, which it's crazy to me. That's how the NFL works. It's like, yeah, every quarterback that he's had that's athletic, he acts like they're Cam Newton, like runs him into a wall.
But John Lynch is still there, right?
John Lynch is the GM.
You think he's going to have no say in Trey Lance starting? He took him number 3 overall. Like,
well, I think that's why it'll be an open competition because of John Lynch being the GM.
We gonna see who balls are bigger this offseason because I've never seen anything like this. Your guy that's expensive versus my guy that's cheaper. Like,
but fellas, if he plays a really bad game this week, and I'm saying like 2 interceptions,
like he's Nate Peterman.
Yeah, not 7 interceptions. I said 2 interceptions.
But he looks finally like a rookie quarterback.
But not only a rookie quarterback, like
they late
draft pick type of rookie quarterback.
No, what JT keeps saying, which I don't like saying this, but what JT keeps saying, Mr. Irrelevant type draft pick. Like 2 turnovers, throws 170 yards.
Just looks
throws
bad.
It 40 times, is 20 for 40. Like, I mean, he just looks like he's not made for.
I don't think he will even get to 35 pass attempts, even if they're getting blown out. I really don't. I think Kyle Shanahan's one that just doesn't let the game plan dictate.
Man, come on. You got like Arthur Smith is going to be out there calling plays. They're going to be down by 21 and he's going to be running it.
If you're down 17 early, you better change your game plan, especially
I feel like there's Marcus, to be honest with you, like we all giving you analysis, but I feel like there's no answer because it really doesn't matter about the quarterbacks. It's really between Lynch and Shanahan. And like, we don't know who has the power in that situation because I've never seen anything like this where you have all your money invested in a franchise quarterback like Trey Lance, but some guy off the street is playing better, and the GM and the coach are in separate corners on these guys. And it's like, who has the power? Because I'm not so sure John Lynch has all the power just because he's the GM. Like, I'm pretty sure Kyle Shanahan has equal or just a little bit less cachet in that organization. So it really depends on who truly is in the ear of the owner. Like, and they can go to them and say, like, hey, look, I think this is the decision we should make, and we're going to go with that. But I don't know who that guy is.
I'll put it this way, and this is the way that I've been framing it when it was Jimmy G versus Trey Lance, and this is like the only way that makes sense. If Brock Purdy beats the Eagles on Sunday, and Brock Purdy shows up in Arizona in 2 weeks, and at the end of that game, the 49ers are the Super Bowl champions, it's very hard to figure out a way to come back next season and say Brock Purdy's not the starter. It's just it's a difficult thing to do when you look at, like, okay, and JT's right. Like, Trey Lance played a game and a half. In the first game he played, he didn't play that great. In the second one, his leg just decided to not be his leg anymore, and it just shattered into pieces, and he just wasn't playing football anymore. And I get it, and it wasn't good. But, like, here's the thing. Like, if Brock Purdy wins a championship, and maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but if Brock Purdy wins a championship, you can't come back next season and say he's not the starter. Well, you could. But it would
but to Blaine's point, that's the 49ers MO. Like, Jimmy G took them to the Super Bowl. They still went out and drafted a quarterback number 3. Like, you don't know what they're going to do.
Was that they didn't win it. And so it was easier to kind of say, yeah, well, let's go get another guy because maybe Jimmy can't do it.
Especially when he missed that throw to Emmanuel Sanders, right?
But if Brock Purdy is doing, because Brock Purdy and Jimmy G are very similar. So if Brock Purdy's doing better at Jimmy G's job than what Jimmy G did when Jimmy G had the job, and it results in a championship when Jimmy G had the job and it didn't result in a championship, it is much easier to look at that and say, I mean, it's Brock. Because here's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, I get it. One guy was picked third. One guy was picked last. Well, here's the deal. The guy that was picked third, injuries or whatever the case may be, he hasn't done what this guy that was picked last overall has done. This guy over here, Brock Purdy, like Don was saying, like, he's cheaper, yeah, but he's getting the job done. He's winning us football games, and we're in a position to be competitive and remain competitive. And it's going to come down to, I think, it's going to be more than just how bad Brock Purdy plays this week. I think it's ultimately going to come down to, like, how much faith even John Lynch has in Trey Lance. Because, like, at some point, the writing is going to be on the wall. Like, it's going to be on the wall for Trey Lance either at the end of this season or at the end of next season. Like, it is going to be all eyes on Trey Lance, obviously, but even more if he's named the starter over Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy just rattled off 7 straight wins, maybe more if they beat the Eagles. Like, it's a tough spot to be in. And I get it that he was drafted 3rd overall, but, like, let's just call a loss a loss. If you wanted the young athletic quarterback with the strong arm, you should have picked Justin Fields, and you didn't. You passed on to pick Trey Lance, and Trey Lance hasn't been for you what you thought he was going to be or what you needed him to be. And you've got this other guy in Brock Purdy who's been everything that you didn't think he would be and a little bit more, and he's got you in a position to win a championship. Like,
or was it because this is the same thing that they did in Washington when Shanahan was there? They took RG3 number 2, but then they took Kirk Cousins in the 4th round. It was like, what are you doing? It's like it's the same struggle. Like, it's first of all, the Trey Lance disrespect is crazy. Like, I don't understand. Like, he hasn't played enough for people to think he's done. Like, I don't think that's a wasted pick.
I don't think he's done in the NFL, but he could be done in San Francisco. Like, there is a team out there that'll want to go.
He's played what now? 4 legit games in 4 years.
Right, but no. What I'm saying is,
seriously, if you go back to college,
it's about college.
Yeah. In the context of his career is not done. Someone will probably want to go trade for him to bring him in because they'll need him. But what I'm saying is, Trey Lance's career in San Francisco has maybe one year left for sure if Brock Purdy fails. Because now the bar is an NFC Championship game. And I know Brock Purdy didn't play the whole season, but, like, are you going to be able to justify Trey Lance coming back on an extension past his rookie contract if he doesn't bring the 49ers at the very least to an NFC Championship game? I don't think you can. I don't think you can justify that because this is
also not fair though, because they're like Trey Lance, even though it was a game and a half, like him and Brock Purdy haven't played with the same teams. Like, he didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Elijah Mitchell got hurt in that first game. George Kittle was already banged up, and Debo was like, he wasn't even getting into it yet. So it's like this is, I want to see Trey Lance with this team they got now. All these all-stars, and they're firing on all cylinders.
Right, which is what I mean. If Trey Lance is named the starter heading into week 1 and they still have Christian McCaffrey and Debo and all that, and then Trey Lance and this team underperforms, and it's not because of, like, injuries derailing the season, but it's like he just played bad football. I don't know how, if John Lynch has the year of the owner, or if it's the other way around, like, I don't know how anyone in San Francisco's organization, any decision makers in San Francisco, can continue to try to justify holding on to Trey Lance as the next guy if he is named the starter when he does come back healthy, if he has this team that Brock Purdy has and he doesn't have the success that Brock Purdy had with this team. Like, it's going to be a hard thing to justify if he's supposed to be this much more talented, but he doesn't have this at the minimum the same amount of success if he's supposed to be the better guy.
And I also want to see.
And you're right, it is unfair.
Yeah, I also want to see Trey Lance get the same circumstances that Brock Purdy has, because one of the things we don't know is how Trey Lance would have played this year, because this division was really bad. Might have been the worst in football. Like legit. Like, could he have had the same record if he would have played the whole year playing those divisional teams just like Brock Purdy had to do? And then also too, like, I don't know who said it. I think it was Deebo Samuel. He was like, he told Brock Purdy, like, oh, like, you make me love playing football again. I'm like, when those dudes start talking like that, I'm always like, be careful what you wish for. Because they said the same thing in New York when Mike White came in. Garrett Wilson was like, oh, yeah, I'd ride for this guy. He's a soldier. He's the best. Then Buffalo folded his ass up like a lawn chair, and they never heard from him again. Like, People are backups for a reason, man. Don't let this fool you. I'm serious. Like these receivers, like, oh my God, this quarterback sucks, but I love him. He's making it fun again.
But JT, the same. I mean, Mark is going back to history repeating itself. I mean, the same could have been said about Tom Brady, right? Like Drew Bledsoe had the bigger arm. He was more exciting. He was a pass first type of guy. Tom Brady just kind of comes in, runs the system, right? Let's not do anything too crazy. And guess what happened? Wins the Super Bowl. Drew Bledsoe, $100 million contract. See ya, out the door, over to Buffalo, never to win again. So, JT, yeah, that could happen. Be the Mike White situation, and it may not be exactly like the Tom Brady situation. But when Debo is saying that, though, I mean, there's something there because guess what? That's how bonds form. I'm sorry, right? Like if he knows Trey Lance is still around, so why say it that way? He must truly believe it. And it doesn't matter what you think, how he may end up playing. It's what Debo feels because Debo's the one on the field with the dude. He's the one in the locker room, you know?
When Jimmy G was the starter again after Trey Lance got hurt, after they won their first couple of games, George Kittle put that shirt of Jimmy G's face back on. Like it's the
That's
exact
his boyfriend
thing.
Though. He loves Jimmy G, man.
Well, yeah, right. But I think what happened. This is all
because he knew Trey wasn't coming back.
It's all very unfair to Trey.
Well, I think with Trey is a different type of quarterback. Like naturally, all their usages are going to take a hit just because of the type of quarterback he is. It like to be honest with you, it would be the same thing like if Josh Allen was their quarterback. Like their usages are going to take a hit in some way because he can make things happen with his legs. Like Brock Purdy has to give them the ball in every situation because he can't do anything with his legs.
That's true. What's out here? I just want to say too before we wrap up, Blaine, you just look like a native Cowboy fan. Like I just happened to take you just look so comfortable in
looks
jersey.
good on you, man.
Them stars look good. He ain't lying, man. Lean back so we can get a good look at this, man.
Yeah, that's.
Hey, turn around. We got to see the name. We got to make sure it's legit.
That is a jersey of someone that has had a high ankle sprain before. That shit fits you perfectly.
He looks like he's ready for game day.
I mean, I despise the Cowboys, but I mean, I'll wear the stars because I am the star on this show. So,
hey, he looks like he's ready for a cold weather game day. Wow, did Marcus just kick him out?
Damn!
Wow. Ooh, you better watch what you say on this show.
Honestly, I don't blame you there because I was about to say I got to run. I just got cold on the radio for work, and I'm the one on standby, so I got to hop off anyway. So
I needed to be made known that there's a large chunk of Blaine's time sheet at work that I'm going to claim as mine.
It comes out of podcasting.
I'm claiming a large chunk of today's timesheet for Blaine's work to be mine because he's here at work doing this. I'm just saying, get out of here.
You got the Cowboys, all right. That's what you get. You got the Cowboys jersey. I think that's enough.
Y'all should make another wager. No, double or nothing situation.
Honestly, I
think you should. I think it should be Joe Burrow related. You guys should do another one, man.
The problem is we both took the Bengals, so we can't do that.
You can find something.
And we both picked the night. We picked the same team this week.
I have no problem wearing a Joe Burrow jersey. Go get out of here, Blaine. Get out of here.
All right, follow the final whistle. Appreciate all y'all. Peace.
See you, Blaine.
All right, it's always a pleasure to have Blaine on the show. Kind of, it's always a pleasure to have JT on the Don on the show. More so Don than JT, but it is what it is. Fellas, let everybody know where they can find JT and the Don.
You can find JT and the Don All Sports podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, any of the other platforms. And also, please check us out on Instagram, our handle at JT and the Don. It pains me to say this all the time, but the Don does a great job with our Instagram page. Check us out on TikTok as well.
It pains you so much you couldn't even say my name.
What'd I say?
You said Don.
I mean JT. See,
he's losing sleep over this, but I appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have JT and the Don on the show. Hopefully, the next time they'll be on the show will be for the season finale to talk about the Super Bowl in a couple weeks.
Talk about Chiefs Eagles.
We'll
Yo, Marcus. You know, I'm not a big social media Instagram guy because JT does such a great job with it that he runs it. But you know what? I got the username and password for it. So if the Chiefs happen to win, Look out, my man. I'm not on it often, but those DMs are going to be filled. Trust me. Trust
It's
me.
the first time my DMs will be filled ever in my life. So maybe I would appreciate that. I don't know. But
you're young. It's all right. You got time.
It's always we'll see. We have 3 more episodes left of this season. We have Royal Rumble preview tomorrow with my guy Salvo Salo of Sports in the Big Apple. That'll be tomorrow at noon. We have a trade deadline show next Friday, and then the season finale of season 2 of Go Talk Marcus will be February 10th, 8 p.m. Super Bowl preview show. Maybe it'll be on Saturday. I don't know. But it's going to be one of those days before Super Bowl Sunday, either the 10th or the 11th, just to talk about the Super Bowl. It'll be the last show of the season, and we're going to take a break for a month and a half and be back for WrestleMania. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Like 65% of the guys, 65% of you that watch the show are not subscribed to the show. So if you enjoy what you see, if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the show. Head over to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Follow at GTP Marcus. JT has astutely mentioned about a week and a half ago that I'm officially a TikToker. I do TikTok challenges now.
I'm thoroughly impressed. At the same time, I'm so tired of seeing your face every time I scroll. But hey, look, go follow him on TikTok. He's actually doing a good job. It is very, very entertaining content.
It's fun. It's fun. I do them at like 7 o'clock in the morning before I head out to work.
Tell him to do that, because I've been trying to get him to do those type of videos for over a year, and I feel like you're the person to talk him into it.
No, I think you'd be good at it. It's like you have the brain and the knowledge for it, and you have the personality for it.
I don't know. I don't even know what it is, and I don't know about the brain and the knowledge.
I'll show you when we get off. I'll show you some of the videos, but they're like they're things that you I think would enjoy just because of the kind of person that you are. But it's always a pleasure to have these guys on the show. And if this is the last time that we have these guys on the show for the season, I just want to extend my sincerest thank you for all that you guys have done and all the times you've been on the show. And yeah, thank you guys for watching.
It's always great being on.
Always a pleasure. And we'll see you guys tomorrow to talk some Rumble. So as always, you guys enjoy the rest of your lives.